And a good morning, Eagle Nation. Appreciate you streaming in here to Birds 365. We've got two pretty good hours planned for you. In the immortal words of Cody Rhodes, yes,
I like it.
Birds 365. What do you want to talk about? I think we've got a pretty good guess on what we're going to be talking about for the majority of the next 2 hours.
Cody Rhodes. Let's talk about Cody Rhodes.
We'll,
No, we
we'll, we'll
can't.
put Cody on the back shelf for now.
I'd rather.
We'll
but
just
we
use
can't. We
his
can't.
phrase to get us
Yeah.
into Birds 365. We're going to talk about another young star, and that would be Jalen Hurts. Of course, Johnny Mac and I wrap up Birds 365 yesterday, about an hour or so afterwards. I think I'm watching The Blacklist on the DVR, which I didn't get a chance to watch on Sunday night because I'm on the air. I'm catching up on some of my Sunday night TV viewing. And I get a text from John McMullen that Adam Schefter is reporting that the Philadelphia Eagles have extended Jalen Hurts at 5 years, $255 million, making him the average annual value highest paid player in the history of the National Football League. Not today, in the entire history of the National Football League. The deal gets done. Jalen will be here for years to come. Johnny Mac, what was the first thing you thought of when you heard the news?
Relief. I'm glad it's over. It was always when, not if, and when came earlier than even I expected. And the Eagles got it done. And I've been saying it for a while. Both sides were. The Eagles were going to be fair. They were going to be in that 48 to 52 range and ended up at 51. Jalen wasn't going to be Kirk Cousins or, trying to wring out every penny. He wasn't going to be Lamar Jackson saying, I need fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson money. It's just not his nature. That turned out to be the case. And they got it done, man. April 17th, very early in the process, and everybody's happy. And they should be happy because it's a good deal for both sides. And long term, it's going to look really good for the Eagles when you start seeing the salary cap going up. But we're going to have Brad Spielberger on in the second hour. It's big salary cap guy. He'll be able to explain it really well. It's interesting though because the cap numbers are really small to the point where it's eye opening. For the first 4 years. And, a lot of people call it magic from Howie Roseman and Jake Rosenberg. It's just accounting, but it's interesting. They found a way to be ahead of the curve again. And I really give them credit because I was looking at, Daniel Jones's cap numbers. They're not even comparable players. And the Giants, the first 2 years are 21 million and 45 million for Daniel Jones. The cap numbers. Now, the Eagles had a little bit of an advantage because Jalen Hurts still had the final year in his rookie deal. So his cap number was, I think, was going to be 4.7 this year. It's only going up to 6.15, Jody. 6.15. And next year, 13.56. And then 2 years out, 21.77. And even 3 years out, 31.77. Again, you're going to have this incremental increase in the salary cap, about 20 million a year. The percentage of what he gets paid is going to look really low in 4 years, and then you're going to have a redo of the deal. I give them credit. They are great accountants, and they have. I thought they'd have a 2-year window to keep building this team. They got a 4-year window to keep building this team, which is pretty stinking impressive. And while I say that, you got to go build this team now because the quarterback helped you out. None of this, we're going to go with Nicholas Morrow nonsense. You got to go build this team now. Might be trade. Obviously, you got to hit and draft picks. We all understand that. That's evergreen in the NFL. Could be June 1st cuts. Could be anything. You got to go build this team now.
Agreed. They ratchet the pressure up on themselves, which is more of a good thing than a bad thing. But I got a question for you. What happened to June 1st? You had me sold that June 1st was this key transactional day, and it was more advantageous to wait till after June 1st than do it before June 1st. So I was buying what you were selling, and then you get the deal done in April. What the hell?
Well, they didn't need to wait till June 1st. Typically, you need to. And I probably put too much weight on Carson Wentz, and when they signed Carson Wentz, and I look back and I said, well, they're probably going to do what they did then, because remember at the time, I believe he was the highest paid player of all time at that point for a very short period.
And then and
very,
Jalen will be too. Jalen's
and
not
yeah,
going to be the highest paid player in the NFL
as soon as Justin Herbert goes, this is the floor now for Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and Joe of that is going to get the most of those three. But in hindsight, look, people, they didn't need to wait till June 1st, so they didn't wait till June 1st, and I probably put too much on, maneuvering other contracts when they didn't have to maneuver other contracts, because, they're not getting extra money from cutting people. So they didn't need to, and they got it done early. Now, part of it is also, I thought, Jalen might wait a little bit as well, and there's no hurry, despite some of the narratives of, it's got to get done. It didn't have to get done on April 17th from anybody's perspective. I went back and looked at Kyler Murray. I talked about those two windows. I talked about June 1st to June 10th. And if not that, the 10 days before training camp, that's when Kyler signed. But the Eagles are ahead of the curve on this kind of stuff. And they went first. They wanted to go first. That's something I hit on, because going first is cheaper than going last. And they know that. Now, at the end of the day, it's all about the player. It's all about the evaluation of the player. If he fails on the field, it's not going to look good. But if he keeps playing like he played last season, people are going to be very, very happy with this deal very, very quickly.
Agreed. All right, well, we got 10 minutes here before we punch up Mikey Miss. I'm going to tick off all the Eagle fans here. For the next 4 years, it's a phenomenal deal. We talked prior to him actually getting it done and signing it. Will it be a player-friendly deal, or will it be a team-friendly deal? Which way is this one going to cut? Well, right now, you got to say it's a player-friendly deal, because he's the highest-paid player in the National Football League. You don't become the highest-paid player in your game and not think it's a player-friendly deal. It's not a team-friendly deal yet. Oh, it could be. It could become a team-friendly deal if Jalen Hurts stays at that MVP-type level that he played at this year. For the salary cap hits they're going to have for the next 4 years, it's almost unfathomable the way they've structured this contract, how good this contract could be. But that's dependent on Jalen Hurts staying Jalen Hurts 2002 level. And the other thing that can make it a team-friendly deal is, as we just talked about, what happens with Burrow and what happens with Herbert when they go above and beyond. And Jalen is the highest paid quarterback, highest paid player in the history of the National League for a couple of months. It just brings his contract back down into the team friendly range, but we're not there yet. It's a Jalen friendly deal now, which could become an Eagle friendly deal. And where it could really go badly for the Philadelphia Eagles is in the last 2 years of the deal, the cap number that the Eagles are looking at it. Again, this is a projection. We got Brad Spielberger on. Let's see if he's got the same type numbers. I was using guys who are on his over the cap website, that the Eagles are scheduled as of now, if this plays out, to owe Jalen Hurts on the cap $81 million in the fourth year of his deal. That can't happen. You can't, even if the cap gets up to near $300 million, you can't have a player on the books for $81 million. You just can't. So you immediately think, well, they'll just renegotiate. They'll rip up the contract. They'll renegotiate. What happens if Jalen Hurts isn't the same player? What happens if Jalen Hurts, and this is highly unlikely, but you can't say it's impossible, decides, I want to test that free agency thing. It was nice. I bought my family all homes and everything. Got a great deal from the Eagles. Had a great time. But I want to go try my wares somewhere else. What if he doesn't want to do a contract extension with the Eagles? The Eagles are screwed. They're like in a hole. We thought that the Carson Wentz hole that they couldn't jump out of. My partner, Johnny Mack, Andrew Brandt, a guy whose opinion I trust with almost anybody, finances and football, said, there's no way they'll do that. Oh, yeah, they jumped down into that hole, and they did. They took the dead cap hit. If that was a big hole, this is the Grand Canyon. You can't get out of this hole. 81 and change $1 million. So even if you say, well, no, they'll get a deal done. John, what player in the history of the National Football League has more leverage for the next contract negotiation than Jalen Hurts? Knowing full well that the Eagles have to redo his deal just to restructure it, to get an $81 million cap hit off the books. Who's going to be in better leverage position than Jalen Hurts 3 years from now?
This is it's hard to explain. I wrote this on Sports Illustrated. Yeah, it is tough to explain when you have the largest contract from some metrics, not from some others, not for some other more important ones, to be honest, but largest contract from average annual value in NFL history. It's tough to explain to a fan that that's a team-friendly deal. It's a team-friendly deal. From the accounting perspective, which is what this is, like if you're Jeffrey Lurie and you're judging Jake Rosenberg and his job, because he's in charge of this stuff, I always say the Carson Wentz deal today was a good deal from his perspective, from his job description, from his perspective, what his job is, not from a football perspective, from his job, from an accounting perspective. It's still a great deal today. That's why he doesn't get any crap for the Carson Wentz deal. Now, the football people, they screwed that up. Carson screwed that up. Different conversation. This deal, and Brad, and I don't have the details of those final years yet. I don't think anybody does. If they did,
just speculate.
They got him this. Yeah, they got
over
him
the
this
cap
morning.
Speculating.
But those final 2 years on the extension are going to be massive cap numbers, which indicates that that's the crux. That's the point where the deal's going to get, something's going to be done with the deal. If you want to play the pessimistic aspect of it, if you bring up Andrew and I a lot that offseason saying Jeffrey Lurie's not going to, what we said was Jeffrey Lurie's not going to be the guy who sets that precedent. That's what we both said. That's what we both believed. And that's where we were both wrong. Jeffrey wasn't very popular for doing that. Now, luckily, Jimmy Haslam came along and blew him out of the water from pissing fellow owners off, and now it's kind of a footnote. But I forget what the number was. It was some outrageous number,
Carson?
like 30,
31 and change.
31, somewhere in that range. So remember, 31, whatever year that was, the cap right now is 224.8. I'd have to look back at what it was there. It's generally going to go up about $20 million a year. So if it goes to 244, 264, 284, 304, 324, by the fifth year, that would be 304 if it holds to where we think it's going to go. So that 30, what you did, can turn into, that's the new 80.
John, it's gone up about 40% from the year that Carson did it. So you had 40% to 30, and you're at about 48, 49.
No, you're right, but the cap is going up because of the new deal. It's going up further than it was. It's going up. It's going to go up. Projected again, barring a pandemic or a collapse, as I mentioned in the economy, which Jeffrey Lurie will be worried about bigger things, to be honest, than Jalen Hurts' contract as a billionaire. Other than societal collapse or as I said, another pandemic, and I think we've learned enough that we're not going to shut down the world for the next pandemic. Hopefully, it never happens, but I think we've learned enough that that's not going to happen. So, barring some kind of catastrophe, it's not apples to oranges is what I'm trying to say. Not apples to apples, it's apples to oranges. But moving forward, how many times are we going to question Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts ain't that guy. Jalen Hurts ain't that guy. Now, things can go bad from a football perspective. He can get hurt. He cannot play well. He could not be at the point where you want to pay him that kind of money. All of that stuff can happen. As far as him being leverage, Mr. Leverage guy, it ain't going to happen. He's proven it here. He's proven it in his career. He's going to continue to prove it. He really wants to win. So that part I'm not concerned about. And so if you go back to the football stuff, which is the most important stuff, all right, here's the question. Here's the question I'll throw back at you, Jody. This is the cost of doing business at the quarterback position in the NFL. You have to pay him, or you don't pay him and you go in a different direction, or you go in a different direction with the player. So what's your best option? If you want to pay him, it becomes what's your best option? What's your best vehicle to get him the going rate to do business at this particular position? From that perspective, the Eagles
paid him what they had to pay him. He earned the money. This is not an outrageous somebody stretching imagination that he becomes the highest paid quarterback. We've seen it happen enough times over the last several years. Well, the new guy's the new guy, and then see top of the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy. And Jalen was the second best quarterback in the National Football League this year, and he was that much behind Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, he got paid what he was supposed to get paid. The Eagles paid him. He took what he was deserving. I got no issue with that. I am questioning the accounting, and that's why we're having Brad Spielberger on, because he can explain it better than I can. But what the Eagles have done here, in the way that I understand the cap is, you compared it to Daniel Jones and the way the Giants laid his money out, and the fact that he's going to count $45 million against the cap in his second year. Jalen Hurts is only going to be counting 30 in his fourth year of a new deal. Well, how the hell did something like that happen? The Eagles are laughing in the face. The Eagles are laughing in the face of the doomsday scenario. The Giants are spreading the cost out. They're going to take their hits as they go because, oh, by the way, they should, because Daniel Jones is a much less safe a bet as Jalen Hurts is. But they don't want to be left holding the bag if the worst case scenario happens. If, let's say, and again, I apologize in advance, Eagle fans, all the guys listening on the stream, I'm not predicting this. I'm not projecting this at all. But what happens if Jalen Hurts is Carson Wentz 2.0 and he gets hurt and he's not the same player he used to be? And we're 3 years into this deal, and the Eagles are looking at an $81 million dead cap hit when they want someone else to be their quarterback. They're killing themselves. That's what they're doing. They're saying, we want to cash these chips for the next 4 years. Johnny McMullen is right. We got a 4-year window to take down a Super Bowl, if not multiple Super Bowls. But if we don't, and Jalen gets hurt, and we're sitting in year 4 here, and he's the 21st ranked quarterback in the National Football League, we're screwed. And we know we're screwed, and we don't have a back door out. We have to take this massive, unbelievable, off the charts, never been even thought about in the National Football League hit again. That's my down. That's the only knock I have on the contract. They are taking the future risk and flushing it and saying, we don't care. We want to take advantage of these next 4 years. We're going to take our big time shot here in the next 4 years. Now, there's a very good chance that Jalen's going to stay right where he is, and they're going to be fine, and they can continue on. And we talk about him on Birds in 2033. But there is the possibility of that downside risk. That's the only downside to this deal.
That's a Eagles, football. That is the football guys. It's a collaborative organization. Jake Rosenberg got his information. They gave him his information. They got to be right. What I'm saying is he did his job. His job's over. Now the football people are on the clock. He did his job.
Correct.
And he did his job well.
And more power to Jake Rosenberg. That's why he's going to stay employed. But now the football happens. And either his job will become that much better, or there is a doomsday scenario here that could really jump up and bite the Eagles in the butt. I'm not predicting it. I don't think it's going to happen. You need me to go on the record and say, I don't believe this is going to happen. I'll do that right now. But it is a possibility, a smaller percentages, that is. All right, we've been breaking down the Jalen Hurts contract plenty. We're going to do it with Mike Missinelli next. I reached out to Mike, said, hey, Mike, we haven't had you on since the Super Bowl. We need you on Birds 365. Little did I know that Jalen Hurts' contract was going to get signed. Thank you, Eagles, for making the Mike Missinelli appearance that much more important. He joins us next here on Birds 365.